Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we
Great.
can.
Perfect, perfect. So good evening, everyone. Thanks for the participation. It's nice to see you all around in the evenings. So if you see the world is changing, there's a lot of uncertainty around there, you can see. And in this, I really appreciate you registered, you're spending your valuable time with us. Thank you so much again. And I hope when you leave this meeting, you'll have some good few insights on some best practices, which Gauri will be sharing with us. Gauri, you can say that Gauri is a speaker today. You can just raise your hand, Gauri, please. So everyone knows who is
Hello,
Gauri.
everybody. Good evening.
Good evening. She's going to be a speaker today. I'm sure you must have read a brief about herself. A very close friend of mine, a guide for me, I would say, and being a member of this company, Brand Capita, with around 40 odd years of experience in industry, in various industries, I would say. So today she's going to take us through this rediscovering corporate DNA in today's time is going to be a subject she's going to touch upon. She'll be sharing her experiences, thoughts, and going to guide us in this complete journey. So she'll spend around 35 minutes on talking about on the subject, and then we can have an interactive session. Let people ask a question, then we can get further from there. So if you see, can you just go to the next screen, Gauri, possible? Yeah. So if you see, the business model is changing. If you see, there's a behavior which has been changing across. It is impacting the big businesses, small businesses, everyone. When I'm just reading an article about Apple and McDonald's, since they're going to change their operations, is going to really limit their profits a lot when they reopen. They are introducing some very unique things, like you can open the door with your leg, you don't have to touch anywhere. When you get into a table at McDonald's, like they will be assuring you that everything is been clean, neat, been taken care of when the previous visitors leave. So it is going to put a huge pressure on all these corporates. There's a beautiful story also, in a sense, when how the people are and models are changing. This story is from Wuhan, China, where actually this started. And it's all about a beauty parlor there. If you see, the first thing which gets closed up in this situation is a beauty parlor or swimming pools or gyms and all that. So the same thing in Wuhan, in China, where this started, this beauty parlor was closed down. But they made almost 200% more business in that time, just because they could change the DNA of the organization. What they did is, they appointed around 1,000 odd online consultants who would help the customers through online, through call, through all digital medias, to see that what needs to be done in the situation, how do you take care of yourself. And they started delivering the product at their doorsteps. But that was a change they got. And at the end, when the lockdown opened up in Wuhan, they already were 200% above their previous business. That's something great. But they changed their complete model of operation. They changed their DNA. That is what is being seen across. There are many examples which have been seen that how people are working in this situation to see that what best they can get out from the situation. You can't just sit and really say, okay, let the things get settled down. No, that things are not going to work anyway. So go to the next one, please, for me. And if you see, most of us are working from home and it's going to continue in a sense from both the ends. In service industry is going to be, it's a big bold statement anyway, but true for many businesses. In a sense, for service industry is going to continue a lot, and since people are talking about some big numbers. But that is going to make a big impact on humans as such. That we don't know when we walk out after a few days, how we'll be behaving with our neighbors, with our colleagues whom we will be meeting after a long time, on a stranger on the road. So that is going to be a situation when the customer starts interacting with you in a business. The behavior we don't know, we can't predict, and that is where we need to start looking towards core, a DNA of organization. That what need or what is the change I need to really look at to see that my business gets successful in this situation. There are no hurdles anywhere. So Gauri, I think you can take here from the journey, and let's see what best we can. Yeah, you can. I'll switch off my video on here, and you can switch on your video. You can keep it on, or you can put it off anyway. Please. Yeah. Gauri?
So yeah, thanks, Mandar. Good evening to all of you, and thank you for being there. Actually, as slowly the lockdown is going to open up down the line. NASSCOM recently came up with the news that 40% of the startups are going to shut down. That's what they said. So the question comes is, who survives and why? And what are the factors that are required for the survival of an organization? Mandar mentioned about corporate DNA. Actually, corporate DNA was a term which was coined by PwC some few years back. And we thought it was more appropriate because when the organizations come shining through this kind of disruption, there is something different, something very unique to that place. And what is a better way than DNA to actually differentiate that uniqueness of an organization? So coming to survival, actually we'll start with a story, slightly what really happens in a real life and death situation. So I would like to take you away from this current pandemic to really experience a survival. I don't know how many of us have been onto the mountains, but this is a real life story of a mountaineer who was actually is an Australian mountaineer by name Lincoln Hall. He made it to the summit, but while coming down, he suffered with oxygen, lack of oxygen, and his body didn't support him. Though his team of Sherpas managed to bring it down still 100 feet sheer face, but once down also, it didn't help, and they left him because they could not see any pulse or anything, and they left him and returned back to the base camp. So this was another story. His wife was informed and everything. Next day, there was another expedition to the summit. And this time it was an American mountaineer who wanted to make the attempt, and everything was looking very nice. The weather was excellent. It was sunny, no winds, no clouds, and they were a few hundred meters below the summit. And they experienced, on their left, they saw a guy sitting there, cross-legged. He was a few feet away from a 10,000 feet rock. And he asked them, I imagine you are surprised to see me. This guy was none other than Lincoln Hall. He had absolutely no survival gears, but he was there talking to them. So Daniel Maruz, the American mountaineer, they and his team, they spent time with him. They realized that he is obviously lucid and suffering from altitude sickness. So they radioed the base camp, and he survived. But in doing all these, Daniel Maruz, and his team, they lost precious time. So they could not really go to the summit because there is only a window in which you can scale it. And when they could not, he just took a picture of the summit from a few hundred meters below the summit, and they returned back. The statement that he made was very interesting. He said, the summit is still there, but Lincoln has only one life. And when you are faced with survival of this kind, which is a life and death situations, the question that comes to your mind is, what helped Lincoln Hall? Is it luck, fate, destiny? Or was it the value system and the ethics of Daniel Maruz? Because he had got together the $25,000 that are required to make the summit attempt, because it's a preparation that takes place 2-3 months that you spend. And and it is also the teamwork that all of them work together to rescue him. Now, in real life, in real corporate life, many of these things, there's a real seesaw which happens. with profit, revenue. I have mentioned some of the numbers over here, but today's situation is slightly different because today many companies have also revisited their guidance or they have withdrawn their guidance. I was in a informal meeting with technologists and economists, and the economist said, jokingly of course, that you actually need a psychologist in this meeting to predict how people will react. Now these people are nothing but our customers. And therefore today's situation is much different than the other disruptions, be it technology disruptions that kind of killed Kodak, or other disruptions that have taken the lives of so many corporations. And sometimes when we are talking about this, when you're talking about the survival of an organization in this kind of situation, which is not which doesn't have a precedence in the past, the 2000 recession in the US, 2008 recession in the world or US globally, that was kind of, was, if one would say, man-made, so to say. But this, absolutely, there was no clue of what is to expect. And even today, some are able to find out what is to expect, but some are not. And some are still struggling. So that, and if we look at those who have actually finding out the change, what can make them succeed, are also noticing the changes that are happening around us. And those are positive changes. So I'll just list some of the changes. Many of you will be familiar and would have taken note of these changes also. After the first few days and first few weeks of the lockdown, there was actually this, all of us also started getting our vegetables directly from the farmers. Mangoes, for those in Mumbai and Pune and these areas, we started directly talking to the farmers and get our shipment of mangoes to our home societies and all that. Now, agriculture has seen a good reform. The farmers are finally getting their dues. And today there was a news that Facebook has announced the shops, Facebook shops. Madhya Pradesh has already amended the Mandi Act so that the farmers can get maximum value to their produce by the e-Mandi. Now, you can imagine an APMC or a virtual APMC being there. So these are the kind of changes that are happening in the agriculture segment. Another change is our flagship TCS. The CEO announced that by 2025, we will have 95% of the people working from home. Now, work from home in the Western countries, I think Twitter has announced that US companies, employees do not necessarily need to come to work. They can work from home. Google CEO has said that till this year end, employees can continue to work from home. And when we talk about in India, work from home culture, a few years back, it was unthinkable. Now, the very fact the management can take such a decision, that speaks a lot for the factors surrounding these also. So our infrastructure network has come of age. There is a trust in the infrastructure network and the connectivity, the Wi-Fi and the connectivity that is there. Belief in employees, belief in value system that work-life balance is important, because if an employee doesn't have to commute in Mumbai or Bangalore, he saves something like 2-3 hours of a day. And that in turn increases the productivity that he has. Now, Dan Millenberg, the American entrepreneur, he had a very good way of describing it. He says, he used the word reset in terms of how we work. That is excellent. But the moment we talk about work from home, definitely the question comes, what happens to the offices? Of course, they won't go away, but then whether the office space providers like Godrej Interior, how will they face this situation? Now, Godrej Interior, and this also has come in the newspapers recently, that Godrej Interior has a sale which actually looks at the office furniture problems faced by the office furniture, like noise and other things. And they take this input and feed it back into their design team. This is what we call listening to your customers. Now, for them, there is a change in environment, and now they have been directed to talk to home office workers, and the home office workers, they will take the feedback inputs from them, and they claim that by the time the lockout is out, and we will be able to come up with appropriate furniture for home offices. Keeping in mind our office homes are small in India, and the families are large, there are kids around and all that. So it will be interesting to see what kind of products they come in. But this behavior itself reflects two very important points, and that is they reacted positively to the changing marketplace, thereby staying relevant in the marketplace, and they also listen to their customers, which is very, very important, and which is going to be very important going forward. There are some more examples. And while we listen to NASSCOM news about 40% startups shutting shops, but there are startups like InstaMojo, the digital payment platform for micro business. They are showing a sudden spurt in their revenue. And the reason? The way we are working today. The freelancers and the professionals, they are offering their services through internet, be it tutor, be it yoga instructor, be it gym instructor, be it comedians. They're actually offering their services, paid services, and InstaMojo is benefiting from that. Yesterday or day before, InstaMojo also announced a partnership with Jio and I think it was Facebook. So we'll see a little later on how they are actually this kind of behavior, where does it fall into which type of organization category. Then Amazon India also launched gaming for Prime members. And this is a good time. They already approached certain mobile game developers for the same. Now, even a common man, even if you don't own a business, but if you have interest, there are so many webinars that are happening. Knowledge sharing on many topics, right from urban farming, ecology, and economy are there. Now, this behavior would not have happened if all of us had been busy working in our offices. At home, which is the very nucleus of our family, there are changing relations and work divisions. And this will also change the dynamics that is happening, which will probably, it may happen for good and bad, but the psychologist will see a lot of insight from these situation. Healthcare transformation. Initially, India struggled with the PPE kit. Now, India is the second largest PPE manufacturer. Traditionally, India has spent very little money as a percentage of GDP into our healthcare. But now, this probably will be an eye-opener for the government and all stakeholders to see how the healthcare transforms itself. I was pleasantly surprised to see the online doctor consulting which was being offered. And overall, even in the need, in the psyche of the housewife, there's a need felt for self-reliance. I will not be surprised if there is a spurt in the urban India in demands for washing dishwashers or mm, the robots that clean our houses, because this self-reliance will not affect only the industry, but it will also affect, it is also affecting our human beings, our side. Now, coming back to the industry, I mentioned about surviving in the pandemic and surviving in the recession. Um, Typically, all our corporates are run by numbers, and this is what is required and taught to think logically. Now, there was a study done of two recessions in the 2000 to 2010 by Harvard economist, and they have presented it into a paper. And interestingly, they have actually covered organizations into 4 categories. The first category is the one which they call it, which are the organizations which are defensive. They spend more time into time and energy into defensive actions. And what are the defensive actions? Obviously, cost cutting, because there is a revenue loss. So you tend to stick to whatever profits you are going to make. So cost cutting, the first thing that comes to mind about cost cutting is the employee layoff. But the most important part of cost cutting is actually improving operational efficiency. Now, Sony was a classic case that they studied in the 2 recessions. And why it takes long? Because organization performance, post they take their actions, it does take time. So whatever actions they took in 2000, and its result on the market and their market positioning, actions that they took in the 2008 and their effects in the market, that takes some time. Now, Sony, since all of us know Sony in 2008, they wanted to do a cost reduction of 2.8 billion. And they more or less acted in the same way as they had done in 2000, by laying off people, by delaying their investment plans, and also reducing their marketing budgets and other things, basically cost cutting. Now, at the end of the recession, and so Sony today fell behind in their product line, Amazon, Microsoft, Nintendo, and Samsung. So today, in fact, in 2000, in spite of taking all the cost-cutting actions, their revenue growth had dropped from 11% to 1%. 2008, they did a similar cost-cutting sessions. And today, Sony has not managed to be what they were before 2000. This is a typical defensive behavior. Now, promotion-focused companies, this is one side of this pendulum. The promotion-focused companies go to the other side. And HP was a classic example. I'm taking these examples because all of us are familiar with this, what has happened. HP in 2000, they invested up to 25 billion to buy Compaq. And Carly Fiorina, who was the CEO at that time, she was quite bullish about it. They spent 1 billion on IT spend on the developing countries. They also invested a lot into the marketing strategy, but they didn't find it reflected into their market share. They were still there below Dell, IBM, Dell, and then HP. So typically there are two companies take either aggressive actions or the defensive actions, or a combination of these. The 9%, what the paper published was 9% of them, they flourish after replay. The numbers can be different in India or elsewhere, but basically it talks about a small percentage flourish in this. And the companies who flourish, they actually do a balancing act of preventive and uh, aggressive actions. They listen to their customers. And classic example was that they had studied a sample of 400 companies in US, and the company that they took an example was that of a Target, which actually they also did layoff. They also closed down certain non-performing assets, but at the same time they increased their overall workforce. They actually studied the footprints of the customer, and they increased their food space. They doubled their food space compared to what they were earlier, because they had a stiff competition from Walmart, so they increased their food space. So one thing that comes out very clearly is you need a balancing act between your preventive and aggressive actions. Now, typically most corporates are run when we run a corporate change management program, the first thing that happens is that people generally are working their comfort level. Nobody wants to come out of that comfort zone, and as such we are also risk we are risk-averse. We don't like to take risks. When something is running smoothly, nobody wants to change anything that is there. So actually, when there are disruptions, you are forced to do exactly that. And then the question comes, like the first example that we took on the mountain, when the B schools teach us to think logically, does instinct tell us to do something which is right at the time of survival, or is it just pure logic? And that is where, when we are averse to taking risks, but this is where the entrepreneurs and the startups differ, because they have already taken the risk, and they believe in their idea. They have a they believe in their dream. And that is why they say that however big you become, you should have that soul of a entrepreneur. And like taking examples of the Instamozo, the way they are the understanding what the customer needs, or our Godrej interior, how the customer marketplace is changing. So ultimately, taking actions which may be aggressive or defensive, taking actions, keeping in mind how the customer is going to change. And this is also where the agility of the management comes into the picture. So I end up my talk with a Jack Ma quote, ironically, which says, "Never give up. Today is hard. Tomorrow will be worse. But the day after tomorrow, there will be sunshine." And today morning, I took a ride around my area, and I was happy to see the carts. They were selling vegetables. There was also grocery shops open. But down the line, I also saw a building which was completely sealed. So people are slowly starting to go back to the business. On one side, we do have the migrants, and we feel the pain when we see the pictures on the TV. On the other side, there's a glimmer of hope which is still coming up with the slowly opening of the various activities. Even today, we had the airlines starting from 25th. So we are hoping that we'll come out of this, and the corporates would have studied the customers, the needs of the customers, and taken appropriate actions to face the end of the lockdown, which is going to happen soon.